Hello everybody. I want to address something. So apparently, I think his name's Ryan Stevenson, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. He runs a page to do with Zach O'Hara's Stock Cars Australian thing, which I think is great. But I think Zach's done a great job of getting that series up and running. But apparently this Ryan threw me under the bus in a video a few weeks ago. I haven't seen it, I haven't been able to find it. But it was to do with my stance on the decision made not to discuss or post any photos about a certain driver on the NASCAR Australia page. Now, unless you were involved in NASCAR racing in Australia, and unless you were a part of what happened back then in the mid to late 90s, when this person ripped all this money off people, you don't get to comment on what happened. You don't get to have an opinion on what happened. You weren't there, you weren't a part of it, you don't know the story. This guy used the trust he had, or the people had in him, to prey on those people and to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars from them. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. People on his crew, people who had worked for him, people who looked at him as a bit of a hero because of his racing. I looked up to him too, and I'll tell you that when he won his first NASCAR race at Calder Park, I was the first person in his garage to congratulate him. So I looked up to him too. But then a couple of years later, he tried to rip me off with a dodgy invoice for I think it was $1,100. So I was aware that you had to keep your eye on him and not trust him. Well, I'll tell you the quick story. I was working for a guy who owned his race car. That guy offered to take my race car to Queensland for the IndyCar Grand Prix support race in the truck with this other fellow's, with the car that this scumbag was racing. When we arrived and unloaded, this scumbag's wife came and approached me with an invoice for $1,100 and something from them for bringing my car to Queensland. It wasn't their truck, it wasn't their trailer, it was owned by the guy who owned his car, who offered to bring my car to Queensland. So I took it off her and I said, okay, I'll take this to the person who owned the truck and talk to him about it. She quickly grabbed it off me and walked away because she knew that if I did that, they'd be found out for trying to rip me off. So I knew not to trust them. So when he then came to me with this scam, this pyramid scam, I ran a mile. I know personally, I'm friends personally with around 10 people who were affected by his scam. And there's many, many others who I know of and many that I don't know of who were also affected. So the decision was made not to basically cancel him from the page. Now, as far as the guy who owns the car now, I've got nothing against him personally at all. And I've shared news articles on the page that includes stuff about that guy in that car. As long as it's a news thing that's been shared, you have to click on to go to and read. I don't care, but I'm not going to allow that guy's name or any photos of his car directly on the page. And if you don't like it, leave the page. It's really simple. But don't throw comments around about my decision or the decision that was made, not just by me, to do this, when you've got no relationship to the incident that happened at all. You weren't there, you weren't involved, you know nothing about NASCAR in Australia, only the bits you try and put together. And even when people try and help some of you guys with information, if it doesn't fit your narrative, you don't want to hear about it, which is kind of sad. I'm quite happy to share news stories from about the Stock Car Australia thing on that page. Happy to, even if it includes that guy's old car and stories about it. Just not photos directly on the page, or anything about that guy directly on the page. So, you know, I think the NASCAR Australia page, I don't know if it's got 5,000 or 8,000 people or whatever followers on that page. I don't know what this Ryan's news page has got, but I'm sure it's nowhere near that. So he should be utilising my page, if he wants, to share his stuff, to try and get more followers to his page. And just be respectful of the decision that was made about what happened. And not comment on it, not discuss it, not have an opinion on it, because you can't have an opinion on something you know nothing about. You weren't there. None of you guys were there. I wish you guys all the best with Stock Cars Australia. I really do. I hope that you guys can continue to build the thing, and I hope that one day you get newer cars and it can grow into something great for young guys to get involved in. That's fantastic for the series. But it's not what we had. It's not NASCAR. And we only had NASCAR for a short time. From 1988 to the end of the 2003-2004 season. After that, we were just V8 stock cars, or the Australian Stock Car Championship. We weren't NASCAR anymore. But that short time that we were NASCAR was pretty incredible. And not many of those cars from that era still exist. There's cars around from after that, from 96, 97, 98, but those really early cars, there's not many. The guy Phil bought my original car, so that still exists, which is really cool. But there's not many of those original cars from the Australian NASCAR Championship days that still exist. George's car obviously existed. He won his championship in, which is great. But do your own thing. Do your Stock Car Australia thing. Work on that. Have fun with it. But don't throw me under the bus because of something that's got nothing to do with you guys. Anyway, have a good day. Hope everyone has a killer 2025, and I wish you all the best. Cheers.